Long time no see, everybody. We're back today with another Q&A for you all. Today we wanted to go over the 3-2-1 diet. If you know me, you know I'm not the nutrition guy. I don't talk a lot about the dieting aspect of things. So without further ado, I'm going to let Patrick kind of break it down for you.
Yeah, so this is one question we kind of get for everybody is like, what should I be doing with my diet? And I think a lot of people just overthink it. That and like if I give them a recommendation, it's probably not as sexy as they wanted it to be. So we put a name on it, and then now we're giving it to you this way. So this is the best diet in the world. You're not going to find anything better. This blows everything out of the water. But basically, if you don't know where to start from, it's best to start simple to build good habits for a couple of reasons. Like one, it is somewhat like biological in the sense of like you do eat the same times during the day. So like if you get used to eating breakfast at 8 a.m. every day, let's say you do that for like a few weeks, then one day if you don't eat breakfast at 8, you actually start to get hungry then because your body does get like those rhythms and it does get in tune to those things. So that's like one major thing with the timing of everything. So the 3-2-1 diet basically is trying to get you like within a good rhythm of things and within like similar constraints for food composition essentially for each meal. So the 3-2-1 diet, the 3 stands for 3 meals a day. So within those 3 meals, you're going to have a source of protein. So either 4, 6, or 8 ounces. So 4 ounces of protein, and this is raw. So raw protein is going to weigh more than cooked. Just because it cooks down. So like at least when you're tracking, if that makes sense. So 4 ounces of raw meat, if you cook it, it's going to go down to like 2 to 3. So that's why you want to always do the raw. So 4 ounces if your protein intake is very low. So if it's something like it's nowhere near your body weight in pounds, that'd be like 4 ounces. Or if you're a small female, 6 ounces would be like a good medium. So like if you need like about like 2/3 or up of, so let's say you weigh 150. You need 120 grams of protein. I would start with 6 ounces with each meal or higher. Then 8 ounces. So 8 ounces would be like if you need a lot of protein. So that'd be somebody that needs like over their body weight in protein or over 200 grams a day. It's gonna be really hard to get like just all your protein for 4 ounces or 6 ounces. So then you're gonna need about 8. So that's the kind of the basis of it. So three meals a day. You know, space those like relatively consistently throughout the day. So ideally within an hour of each time. So if you always have breakfast at 8, you could have breakfast still at like 8 or at like 7 or 9 at 9 o'clock. So within an hour. If your lunch is usually at 12, but sometimes at like 11 or 1, that's fine. But just try to keep it like within an hour when you usually have it. And same goes for dinner. So going down, so that's 3. So 2 would be just having 2 servings of carbs with each meal. So per meal. So if you eat 2 meals a day, only 2 of those have carbs in them. So 1 meal is no carb or very low carb. So only trace amounts of carbs. So you're not trying to get pasta, you're not trying to get bread, you're not trying to get any sorts of carbs or cereals or whatever you guys typically eat in those meals. Reason being, it's just an easy way to limit the carb intake, not to be too reliant on it. Easy way to just like cut some calories out throughout the day. And ideally, those 2 meals that do have the carbs should be around the workout. So if you work out at, let's say, you work out after work. So let's say you work till 9 to 5 and you have lunch at 12. So eat lunch with carbs, ideally like a complex source of carbs, and then go work out. And then after working out, have your dinner, and that also has carbs. So your breakfast wouldn't have carbs in that scenario. So that's the 2. So 3 meals a day, 4, 6, or 8 ounces of protein each meal. 2 would be just 2 servings of carbs throughout the day. And a serving can change, right? Like for somebody that needs a very low amount of carbs, it might be a half cup to 1 cup. Somebody needs a moderate, might be 1 to 1.5 cups. And somebody needs a lot of carbs, be 1.5 to 2 cups. That can be like rice, grains, potatoes. So like 1 potato or 1.5 potatoes. Kind of think of it that way to simplify things. The last part of it is just 1. So the 1 stands for 1 snack a day. So if you're somebody that needs more carbs, make it a carb. If you're somebody that needs more fat, make it a fat. If you're somebody that needs more protein, make it a protein. Really just make it idiot proof. So if that still confuses you somehow, then just do a protein shake or a piece of fruit. So really it just depends what you need, right? Like I can't make a general diet recommendation for everybody without knowing what they need that covers everything for everyone. This is kind of the best way to do it. So 3 meals a day, only 2 of those meals have carbs in them, and 1 snack throughout the day. I would do that for like an introduction period of like 1 to 2 weeks and see what happens. By see what happens, I mean like how does it affect your training, your like energy levels throughout the day, how hungry are you throughout the day, and how does your body weight change? And then those 4 points of data give you enough to then like determine whether you should change it or not. But you do need to do it consistently for 7 to 14 days. If you only do it for 2 or 3 days, that's only 2 data points or 3 data points that you have, which isn't very reliable because anything can happen, right? But you can have a bad day, then have a good day. And then how do you know, like, where do you go from there then? Like, how do you make a determination based off that? So that's the basis of it. Any like questions or clarifying things that you have on that, Joe?
Yeah, so a couple quick things really. So the raw protein shrinkage you talked about, because when you cook meat, it shrinks up. Uh, a way to kind of counter that, if you wanted more substance in your meals, would be using things like ground bison instead of beef, because the bison has a lot less shrinkage for one. And then bone in versus bone out kind of meats. I think if you leave the bone in with like, chicken thighs or chicken breasts, they tend to stay close to the same size and don't shrink as much. And that's not going to make or break how you handle this diet, but it's just a way to get a little bit extra in there for you. And then the thing you said on the 2 data points, if you only do it for a couple of days, I've found that with myself, sometimes I won't have a noticeable reaction to a food until maybe 24 hours after consuming that food. Like, I'll eat, Mexican food the night before, and I don't really have like any kind of stomach or congestion issues until the day after, or maybe even a little bit after that. So yeah, it really does behoove you to have about 7 to 14 days of trying something so you can actually see how it feels. And even with other diets I've heard, they recommend you need to try it at least for a month to 3 months to really get the benefits of it. I mean, I'm not a keto guy, so I can't speak to that, but that's just what they say when they're talking about it online. As far as clarifications, how do you find out if you're one of those kind of people that handles or that would prefer having more carbs versus more fat in your snacks?
The first thing would be like, what do you immediately gravitate towards? So some people, like, if you like savory food, for example, like you're probably more of a fat person. If you like sweet food more, you're probably more of a carb person. So that would be like the immediate one. The other one would be just like energy demand or activity. For most people here, since they're mostly like lifters, so to speak, like I'd probably go more carb heavy. That, and if you're tracking like whatever's consistently lower. So if you're trying to hit like 80 grams of fat a day, for example, but like you're hitting 60, then probably make that snack from fat. But if you're like hitting like, like not hitting your carbs well enough, then probably get that amount for carbs.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one after that would be, what do you constitute as a carb source? Like, are uncooked vegetables a carb? Are fruits a carb? Or are you talking only like processed grains like rice or breads or pastas?
I would stick to like mostly like grains, pastas, and like potatoes to be like the top of most of what you should eat from carbs. And then from there you can go into like fruit, would be like another good option. And then you could do like the processed crap if you want. But I mean, like I'll put those other stuff above everything else. Just because like for one, like the satiety you get or the fullness effect you get from those things are going to be greater. Things like potatoes, for example, have also some micronutrients like potassium. So just from that perspective, it's going to be a little bit better to get it from like those whole food sources rather than like granola bars or like cereal or something like that.
Yeah. I think part of why I'm asking too is like, if you have a little bowl of strawberries and raspberries, is that gonna count as your carb source? Now you can't eat your baked potato with your next meal, or would you rather keep it a little bit more rigid or strict and saying like, hey, just try to avoid that for at least, a week to 2 weeks?
I would count it. You could always do 50-50 too. Nothing ever has to be like this or that. So you could do like, if you're doing like one source of carbs, like 1 cup of carbs, you could do a half a potato and then like a small bowl of berries. That works perfectly fine. But it's just like the quantity that matters kind of more than anything. And I think too, like the more, like you could make it as complicated as you want. It's just, it gets very stupid then, because then people like get too many questions. They're like, well, like I want to do like, and people ask us all the time, like, well, what if I want to do pasta? I'm like, then do pasta. They're like, well, what if I want to do pasta and potatoes? I'm like, you don't want to do that. And if you do, then that's dumb. But if you do, then like do half and half. It's just like there's a lot of questions that like you kind of just think about them longer. Like you probably don't want to do those things anyway. So don't even like think about them as an option. Just make it easy on yourself as possible. For example, like a lot of restaurants will give you like if you order breakfast, they'll give you like toast and hash browns. Just ask for no toast. They're not gonna not give it to you. Like you're still paying for it and everything. So just tell them not to give you toast, and then just keep it easy that way.
Yeah. No, it sounds. I've found that the simpler things are, the easier they are to follow. But because it's simple, it doesn't mean that it's easy. So it's interesting that having a number to it, the 3, 2, 1. I think that's gonna pay off a lot as far as keeping simple rules and rigidity for people that kind of need that in their life. And the whole thing with the if it fits your macros diet is, people almost try to eat foods that they know they shouldn't be eating. Like, people try to eat half a Pop-Tart with every meal or right before they go to training. And it's like, okay, well, did you really need half Pop-Tart, or could you have that, like, extra 6 grams of rice at dinner instead?
Yeah.
No, very interesting stuff though. Very, very interesting. I don't have any other questions or any further clarifications. And if I do, I'll try to ask it in the forum. So the same way everybody else should be, if they have any questions, they can reach out to us there or post other Q&A questions for us on the EverFit group chat.
Yep. So that's it for this one, guys. If you have any questions, I'm going to be working on a handout for this too, just to kind of like visualize everything for you guys. And you can kind of like fill it out with everything you need. It's one of those things too, like if you look at the handout, you're like, well, I can like conceptualize this. It's like, cool, but like just still write it down and then put it on your fridge, and then you got no excuse. So just do that. And then I'll let you guys know when I kind of make that. But that'll be the best thing to kind of start with. Or if you need, even if you just need a reset, like, you've been like following something or you've been hitting your macros, but it's just been kind of like all over the place. Just remember, at the end of the day, the macros aren't for you to like mess around. They're there just to like act as a constraint. So the same way as this is here to act as a constraint, like that way, if you ate your 3 meals and someone's like, yo, you want to grab pizza? Be like, no, I ate my 3 meals, or it fits your snack. So then just like make it fit that way. But yeah, that way you have some kind of parameters to work with. Sweet.
Yeah, I'm surprised pizza hasn't become a protein flavor yet.
Yeah, not yet. All right, y'all. Thank you. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.